of the family, and I feel really grateful because Aunt Jane Jones feels like if she hadn't started it, then I would have had nothing to go on. So she gets all the credit as far as I'm concerned. And you know, we've had the Jones movie and we had the Indian Hicks movie, and we talked about the Joneses over in Platte County. And I thought, well, you know what? We need to know more about the Eldridge Bennett side. So even though I carried the name Jones, I'm just as much Eldridge as I am Jones. So I thought it would be much more meaningful that we know about both sides. So in this picture here, the gentleman on the far right is Levi Horace Eldridge, and then his wife, Jelina Jane Bennett. And if I make a mistake, please feel free to jump in, because that's okay. I believe that's their daughter Maud, next to Jelina, and I also believe that's Effie, and I know that's Hillary, because they only had one son. So I want to just do a really brief talk about the way back ancestors, because there are so many more people that know about the Eldridges more, more current. So let's just start with Jelina's family, and Jelina is the older woman in the picture, Jelina Jane Bennett, and her family came to America. The first one was Edward Bennett. He brought his wife and 4 children in 1656. Oh my God. They settled in the Massachusetts area. There were just 2 areas to come to the Americas at that time. And that was down in Virginia and then up in the Connecticut, Boston, Massachusetts area. So your family probably came to America in either one of those ports, the way back people. So then there's a John, and then there's a William. Interesting, this William was a decorated veteran of the French and Indian Wars. We can forget about that thing, and that happens to be, it's amazing that all these soldiers got land, because they couldn't pay them in money, so they entered the service with a promise, hopefully they wouldn't die, and they would have land to move on, because most of them had no money to buy land, and so that was a risk they took for their family. So then we've got a couple more Williams, and the family moved to Susquehanna area of Pennsylvania, and as generations go, they're going to come more and more west, because they've got to have land, so that they're moving off of the coast, and they're moving to the inland. Then we have another William, and he's the first one who moves to Kentucky and Tennessee. Next generation, and so that's a William. And then his son, so we're going down, we've got Edward John William, and then we have James Taylor Bennett, and he's born in Kentucky, but they go on to Tennessee. And he marries Sarah Penina, P-N-I-N-A, and we have Aunt Ruth is Nina Ruth, and we have Aunt Nina, who's, Effie has a sister, Aunt Nina, so that's the origin of the Penina or Nina name in this family. And they have a daughter, Jelina Jane Bennett, who's right here, and she's born in 1847, and she marries Levi Horace Eldridge, and they are buried in, I believe it's called the Webb Cemetery, or is it Weber Cemetery, or Webb? I think it's Webb Cemetery, and they're married into the Webb family and the Bilbrey family. And some of the Joneses went and saw that log cabin house in maybe early 90s, and it's fabulous, and we had a wonderful time. And actually, my generation is the 10th I'm the 10th generation of Jelina's family, of the Bennett side. So there are 9 generations before my generation of family. Okay. and then I know somebody else is going to talk a little bit more. Then, so let's talk about Levi Horace Eldridge, the gentleman over here to the right. And in these pictures, they were probably taken by an itinerant photographer who came by, and for a quarter maybe, they would take your picture. So generally, sometimes women even hung the quilts out over the porch. They were proud of their work, and if you had horses, you brought them out. Because it meant there was a certain status in the community that you had that. So the first Eldridge family arrived in the Virginia area in 1667. And his name is Clement. He comes with his wife and about 6 children. And they arrive in Virginia but settle very quickly in Maryland. And then they stay, then there's George and John, and then there's Thomas, and he's the first one to leave Maryland in about 1750 and moves to Tennessee with 2 of his brothers, and they are in Knox County, and he fights in the Revolutionary War and is granted land, bounty land there. And so then the next generation down is John, and he was a slave owner, a very wealthy gentleman in that area, probably had about 400 to 500 acres, which is a lot of acreage in that area. And they did grow a lot of tobacco in that area. That was the crop. And then we're going to go on down to Zachariah. And that first name starts to, I kind of relate to that generation. And then Zachariah married Cora Dennis. And it is through the Dennis family that we are related to the Thomas Jefferson family. So Thomas Jefferson has the same grandmother that we have. He has her as his first grandmother. We have her as our about 10th back grandmother. That's very interesting. So unfortunately, we're not directly from Thomas, or we could be in a beautiful cemetery. But it's very interesting to see these little connections. And then their child, Levi Horace Eldridge, marries Jelina Jane Bennett in 1879. They have, and please correct me here, Maud, Nina, or Panina, Minnie, Effie, May, and their only son, Hilary.
Minnie, did you mention?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Maud.
And Nina, and Ed.
Okay.
And in this side of the family, in the Eldridge side of the family, my generation is the 11th generation. And I have just one quick cute story about the Eldridge family here. So they're in Tennessee, and in that time, the Indians that's their land. They've already been pushed back by the federal government. So this is all of their area in the 1800s. And so we go back to John. John's son marries Alcee Pathkiller. She is the daughter of the last biological Cherokee chief of the Cherokee Nation. And because he was a chief, he had more respect, he had money, he had land. And so then in about 1832, there was a big march of the Cherokee Indians, Trail of Tears, and Chief Pathkiller had to leave Tennessee to go down to Georgia. His daughter Alcee, who's married to the Eldridge, she gets to stay because she's married to a white gentleman. So, unbeknownst to us until this time, not only are the Joneses related to Cherokee Indians, now we find out you Eldridges have a lot of red blood. So it was really fascinating for me. It's uncovering the stories of the people.
Thank you so much.
This is just I'll pass this photo around. This is a dugout canoe, 32 foot long, belonged to Chief Pathkiller He gave it to his daughter, Alcie Eldridge, when she was married. And this was found on their farm. It was donated to the McClung Museum in Knoxville, Tennessee in around 1932. So when you go there, so now I want to go and see this 32-foot dugout canoe hangs from the ceiling. So
That's
really
awesome.
Thank you so much.